They set the janitor up as a joke on a blind date, but the female CEO's words left everyone in tears. The laughter started in the break room. "Come on, it'll be hilarious," someone snickered, spinning their coffee mug. "Let's set the janitor up on a blind date with the CEO. It wasn't meant to be kind. It was a prank, a cruel joke disguised as office humor." James Porter, 56, didn't know that. He was the quiet man who mopped the marble floors long after everyone else had gone home. A man who smiled at every employee, remembered birthdays, fixed broken coffee machines, and asked about people's kids. Nobody really saw him, though. To most, he was invisible. But that Friday, he got a message from HR saying he'd won a company dinner lottery and was invited to a special dinner at a 5-star restaurant with a surprise guest. James thought maybe, just maybe, the company was finally recognizing his 15 years of service. He borrowed a suit from his neighbor, polished his old shoes until he could see his reflection, and bought a small bouquet of daisies with the little cash he had left. When he walked into the restaurant that night, the waiters looked at him twice. The staff whispered. He didn't fit in among the business elites in sharp suits. And then she walked in, Olivia Hartley, 38, the CEO, elegant, confident, and known for her steel-grey eyes and unshakable composure. She froze for a second when she saw James standing awkwardly by the table with flowers in hand. At that moment, she understood. She had heard whispers earlier in the day about a funny prank involving a fake blind date, and now she saw it. The punchline was standing right in front of her, smiling with genuine hope. Every instinct told her to walk away, to save face. But instead she smiled softly and said, "Mr. Porter, thank you for coming. I've been looking forward to this dinner." The staff looked stunned. James blinked. "Ma'am, I didn't expect—" "Please," she interrupted gently. "It's Olivia tonight. Let's sit." They talked. About life, about dreams. About how James had once studied engineering but dropped out to take care of his sick mother, how he took the janitor job because it paid the bills, and how he'd never stopped believing that kindness mattered more than titles. Halfway through dinner, Olivia's voice softened. "You know," she said, "I've been surrounded by people with resumes longer than novels, but I can't remember the last time I met someone who spoke with so much heart." James smiled humbly. "Well, ma'am, titles come and go, but the way we treat people, that's what stays." She nodded, holding back tears. The next Monday, whispers filled the office again. But this time it wasn't laughter, it was silence. Because Olivia called a company-wide meeting. She walked to the front of the room, her tone calm but steady. "I found out," she began, "that a cruel prank was played on one of our most hard-working employees." You could hear a pin drop. She continued, "Mr. Porter was invited to dinner as a joke. But in that so-called joke, I found one of the most genuine, selfless, and inspiring people I've ever met." Then she turned to him, eyes glistening. "James, your kindness humbles me. Starting today, I'd like to offer you a new position, facilities supervisor. You'll manage the team, your experience will guide others, and your pay will reflect your worth." Gasps filled the room. Some faces turned pale. James stood frozen, tears in his eyes. "Ma'am, I don't know what to say," she smiled. "You already said it, James. Titles come and go, but the way we treat people stays. Thank you for reminding me of that." The room erupted in quiet applause. A few of those who had planned the prank couldn't meet his eyes. Later that day, as James walked through the halls, people nodded, smiled, even stopped to thank him. For the first time in years, he wasn't invisible. And that night, when Olivia sent an internal memo, it read, "Kindness is not weakness. It's the quiet strength that holds a company and humanity together." The days that followed were different. People who used to breeze past James without a glance now stopped to talk. Some apologized, others couldn't find the words. But James, being who he was, didn't hold grudges. He just smiled and said, "It's all right. We all make mistakes. What matters is what we learn from them." The truth was, his humility was the very thing that had always made him great. He didn't need to prove anyone wrong. Life had already done that for him. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. CEO Olivia Hartley couldn't stop thinking about that dinner. His words replayed in her mind over and over again, especially the part where he said, "Kindness isn't weakness. It's strength that most people forget to use." That sentence hit her harder than any board meeting or business deal ever had. A week later, she walked down to the maintenance wing, something no CEO had ever done before. The floor smelled faintly of disinfectant, and the hum of cleaning machines echoed in the background. James looked up from a toolbox, startled. "Ms. Hartley, oh, sorry, Olivia," she smiled. "Still working late?" He chuckled softly. "Old habits die hard. Besides, these machines have been my friends longer than most people have." She looked around at the faded walls, the half-broken lockers, the dusty light fixtures. "James, this place doesn't reflect how important you and your team are. I want to change that," he blinked. "Change what, ma'am?" "Everything," she said simply. "Starting today, the janitorial and facilities department is getting a full renovation. New equipment, better spaces, proper uniforms. You deserve it." James stood there speechless. For years, no one had even noticed their workspace. But why? He finally asked, voice breaking a little. Olivia's eyes softened. Because when a company forgets the people who keep it standing, it's already halfway to falling. That day marked a shift, not just in policy, but in culture. Suddenly, people started showing up early to help tidy common areas. Executives stopped throwing trash in corners or leaving coffee stains on tables. A few even volunteered to spend a day shadowing the maintenance crew just to understand their work. And slowly, laughter returned to the office, not the mocking kind, but the genuine human kind. A few months later, the company hosted its annual awards dinner. The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers, and the air buzzed with music and chatter. When it was time for the final award, Employee of the Year, everyone expected a top performer from sales or marketing, but Olivia stepped up to the podium and cleared her throat. "This year," she began, "our company learned something powerful. Success isn't built on titles or offices. It's built on people who care, people who work with heart, even when no one's watching." She paused, then smiled. "Please join me in congratulating our Employee of the Year, Mr. James Porter." The room erupted. People stood. Some cheered. Others wiped their eyes. James walked up slowly, hands trembling. He'd never seen a standing ovation in his life, certainly not for him. As he reached the stage, Olivia shook his hand, then leaned into the mic and said, "You reminded us what leadership truly means." James looked out at the crowd and said softly, "I just do my job, ma'am." She smiled. "And you've taught us all how to do ours, with respect." Later that night, after everyone had gone home, James stood outside under the city lights. He took out his old wallet, the one with a faded picture of his late mother inside. He looked at it and whispered, "We made it, Mom." A gentle breeze swept through, carrying the hum of distant laughter and the quiet promise of a better tomorrow. Epilogue. 6 months later, the company launched a new mentorship program, the Porter Initiative. It paired executives with blue-collar staff to exchange life lessons and experiences. It became one of the most celebrated workplace culture movements in the country. When reporters asked Olivia why she named it after a janitor, she smiled and said, "Because a janitor taught me how to lead."